Well, thanks everyone. Delighted to see such a turnout still for last session of the day. Great work all. I'm Heather Long with Red Thread, and we're thrilled to be with you today with this great panel to share what we're calling the experience equation. And it's really that critical balance and intersection between people, place, and technology, and how we really extend the function of each. At Red Thread, we're focused on making work better. We do this through environments that are not only well-designed, but also deeply connected. Our technology group brings together AV, workplace platforms, and analytics to drive smarter and more responsive experiences. Because the reality is our workplaces today aren't just physical or digital, they're both. So we're designing spaces that are both physical and digital to create consistent experiences for our end users. So I'm delighted to introduce the rest of our panelists here. Akash.
Hello everyone, my name is Akash Ravi. I'm representing Spaceti. We are a space management, space analytics, and workplace experience technology company. We're proud to work with some of our clients here, as well as Red Thread and other resellers and distributors across the globe to implement our technology solutions to Fortune 500, and as well as higher ed, hospitals, and everything in between who are currently using our platform. And really looking forward to what the panelists here have to share about their experience in using data, leveraging AI to create really powerful experiences in their organizations.
And one other little, I always forget, guys. Okay. One other little tee up here is, so obviously our panelists are going to introduce themselves, but one thing I would love for you to include is also something that you found either interesting or maybe surprising from the conference so far. Nicole?
Oh, I'm first. Okay, great. Hi, I'm Nicole, and I am the manager of space planning and corporate services at Tandem Diabetes Care in San Diego, California. One thing I'll tell you that has been super interesting to me is how diverse the industries are here at the conference, and it's amazing how what we do can impact so many different people. And yes, I'm reading off of a script, kind of, because I'm a yapper, and I'll just keep going, so...
Excellent. My name is Rebecca Bergstrom. I'm a senior manager, workplace strategy and design in Sun Life. And today happens to be my 25th work anniversary, which, fun fact. Yep, so celebrating later. One of the things that I found really amazing with this community today was that as I walked around the individual booths, each one of you have a very focused contribution to the workplace. But when you put everything together, it becomes this powerful situation that really impacts and influences so many people's lives when they spend so much time coming into the office. So just want to say congratulations to all of you, and it was really exciting and inspiring to put everything together. And I'm walking away with lots of learnings.
Thanks. I'm Ryan Bender. I'm the Director of Global Client Experience at Northeastern University, right down the street, but we actually have 14 campuses globally. My team oversees AV and IT support, which is a 24/7 operation in my world, as well as systems administration, training, user experience, things like that. So my surprise was, this is mostly a facilities, real estate planning conference, is the overlap of technology and how involved it is and how close the partnership is between IT and facilities. And our IT org was actually just moved under the same SVP as facilities, campus planning, and real estate. So this is perfect timing to learn from all of you about my new partner in crime, facilities.
You actually just reminded me during our planning session, and you shared that, somehow balloons came up on the screen. We were like,
oh, yeah.
And
if you have a Mac and you do this, balloons just show up.
Yeah. Makes it fun. Okay, great. So let's jump in. So how do we define experience in our world, right? So experience has become a buzzword. We've heard it so many times today, right? And everyone's sort of defining it differently. I'm curious from our panelists, how are you defining experience in your own settings today? And what's shifted for you around that definition over the last few years?
Yeah, it's me first. Okay, so I have some bullet points. Establishing an environment that accommodates productivity and focus is one. Providing flexibility with hybrid work schedules. I host something that Tandem calls Blue Week. It's quarterly, and it's a regular opportunity for in-office connection and cross-functional project collaboration. And then lastly, employee voice is more influential. So like considering employee work environment needs both at home and in the office.
Love that. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah. In my world, a good experience means that no one knows my name, no one's calling me, I melt into the background, and that kind of goes along with like good technology, good planning. It just works. No one notices it. It just is really good. And when you mention it, they're like, "Oh, that was so smart. That's great," and it just works really well.
And building off of Ryan's goals, we want to make it easy for people to connect. We have a very large distributed workforce, and when they come into the office, we want every moment to count. We want to make it easy for them so that they're not fussing with technology, they're not hunting for space, they're not looking for other colleagues or trying to figure out where to get a cup of coffee. We really want to allow people to connect flawlessly, easily, and want to come in every day. We want to earn that commute and just continue evolving our space.
Thank you.
And maybe something I can just build on that, having visited some of these corporate campuses, such as Sun Life, and my colleagues have visited Nicole down in San Diego, is the fact that these days we're really designing for experiences, and I think making the commute worth it is a key part of that. So, Nicole, you have a cafe in your,
Yes, we do. Yeah.
right, in your in the first floor, I think it is.
It is in our
floor?
first floor, yes.
So, and that's obviously a hot commodity. People come in just to grab their cup of coffee.
They do. They come in, every Monday, you give them a free cup of coffee or smoothie or matcha, whatever. And yeah, they really enjoy it. So.
And, and Rebecca, I think you have that collaboration cafe area as well. We have other clients who have a nitro brew, right in their kitchen, and that's used a lot. People are really attracted to that. So those kind of experiences, it's not just about the food, obviously, but it's that collaboration center and that hub that people can come in and not just have a desk, but also a place to be amongst others and have a watering hole. So the designing for experiences is something that's become really, really powerful, I would say. And that's something I've noticed in all your organizations over the past few years that we've been working with you guys. So the next question we have is, how are you measuring workplace or user experience? And how have those metrics evolved with hybrid, digital, and distributed models?
Okay, so keep in mind our headquarters was basically built during COVID, and we had to accommodate the idea of how in-office work was defined right out of the gate. And I haven't done any formal ways of measuring except recently with Spaceti and sensors and things like that. I've gotten some really good feedback from them. Actually, I was a little bit surprised as to the departments that are in office and actually aren't. And then, the regular badge data, stuff like that. So yeah.
We actually, we don't rely upon one single source for data. We actually have many forms, one of which we utilize the Spaceti sensors. So one of the things we did during the pandemic was really try to understand what people did with their time. And so we did survey them to try to understand what activities were taking place and for what portion. And one of the things we came to very quickly was the fact that a lot of the heads down work, didn't necessarily need to happen while in the office. It could also happen at home. So when they were coming in, we wanted to make sure that we were able to provide the correct zones and the work settings that would allow people to do their best work, right? So if you think about all of the different amenities, one of the things we are learning about is how, when, and where people are working while in the office. So really starting to unpackage. We've done some ethnographic studies that really takes a look at, durations, if they're leaving stuff behind. When you start to couple that with the badge data, the Spaceti sensors, as well as just plain conversations, right? Never underestimate the power of focus groups and just grabbing a coffee with someone. So really helping to understand what are those narratives and how do you evolve that space so that you can continue to make best use of time coming in. One thing we implemented was Together Tuesdays. So if you look at some of our data, you're going to see spikes on Tuesdays. So what's happening? What's the draw? What's bringing people in? And how do we perhaps, have that load cascade over to maybe some of the other days of the week? One of the great things we've learned was that people need help connecting when they come in. So whether it be, arranging for food or appropriate room size, we have experience coordinators now that'll help bring together your technology and all of those work settings, as well as the catering food. So.
And back to the intro, in my world, it's, are they still calling me? Are they calling the team? Are they reporting it? At a university, luckily, good news, bad news, my clients are loud. Students will let you know if they're unhappy. Faculty will let you know if they're unhappy. And so looking at data of tickets and calls and social media, one big thing, and the next question we'll kind of talk about a mistake that we made once, but we recently standardized all of our room systems on Teams, and we saw a 66% drop in calls in our classrooms, conference rooms, event space, over 1,000 rooms. And that data was amazing to prove that this was a good move. Some people were loud and they didn't like it, but that data proved that this worked and this was reliable and it melted into the background and they like it.
I love that you shared that point too, because it's interesting. We talk a lot about all the different data points that we're sort of synergizing together, and that's probably an overlooked one for many of us, right? That it's not something that would necessarily be typically calculated into that, but clearly has an impact on your day-to-day. That change, so the way that we're measuring things has a lot of different successful outcomes there. Love that. Okay, we're going to jump into the next one. So where have physical and digital experience worked well together, and where have they clashed? And we had some good examples of this. And then an extension of that, or add-on, is what role would you say technology or even AI play into that alignment of success?
So the use of cameras in our conference rooms and the ability to have everyone in the room visible on Teams, we have Teams too, has helped keep our employees feel more connected in the new hybrid work world. An issue that we've been having is the conflict between online room booking and then the integration with the Microsoft Teams calendar, but working with Spaceti, I'm pretty sure we're going to fix that solution or problem pretty soon. Yeah.
For us, it's been a bit of a test and learn. We thought coming back after the pandemic that we were going to be laptop first to continue that, equity and allow everyone to feel, on even playing ground. So when we, all started coming back to the office, we only had about 2 Teams rooms per site, which, as you can imagine, very quickly became noisy. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things we learned. Luckily, we were smart enough to keep a lot of the infrastructure behind the walls, so we've since upped our game on that. But, it's really important to understand, what do people value? Because having the technology available in those rooms, and like you said, not having to call anyone, it is really invaluable. The other thing is making sure we've got those dual screens. They can charge their cell phones. People are going between their home and the office. It has to be seamless. They have to be able to come into the office and not skip a beat. Otherwise, they're only going to stay in one environment the whole time and really not be able to build that skill set to easily transition between spaces. In terms of AI, it really has just allowed us to keep pace, right, with what's happening. One of the panelists earlier today said, it's about the now, right, and understanding where you're at, because in order to evolve, you really need to understand what's working, what's not. It's okay to fail, and it's okay to really test and learn and not have all the answers right out of the gate.
So on failure, during COVID, we were open real early. We opened in January, right after. Full on, our president was very zealous. So we were tasked with making classrooms that could be for hybrid learning and distance learning. And we over-listened. We listened to everything. They wanted multi-camera angle, like newscast style, auto switching with one button to start it and no computers. And it ended up with classrooms that needed a closet worth of equipment to work that were so complicated. They never worked properly. And people just plugged in their laptop, which also didn't work most of the time, and were very upset. It just did not work. We listened to every single request they had, and we did it. And it was really expensive, and it didn't really work, and it was a waste of space. And then after that, we translated that to what they actually wanted, which they just want a classroom that works very easily. And we went to Teams rooms, the exact opposite, a little appliance that sits behind a screen in the room, and they've loved it. And so the clash was listening and not translating appropriately.
One thing I've noticed just walking the site of Sun Life and Rebecca and some other clients is it's important to keep it simple, but I've seen the variety in some of the room layouts that have come about since COVID. Just you have certain types of rooms. If you have one person joining remotely, and then you have a certain setting of the room where people are sitting around a single screen, and then you have other types of settings if everyone is in the room and no one's joining remotely. So that's something interesting, I think, when it comes to blending the digital and the physical, is you have to have, according to your organization, different types of layouts that correspond to different shares of people joining online versus joining in person. And of course, in order to set that up, you have to have the data about what percentage of your population is online versus is in person in different rooms. So that's something I found very interesting.
Totally. I was just going to add one more thing to that, because what I think we've all sort of observed is like that user feedback is very well intentioned, but it is sometimes inherently not as honest as it could be, because we just don't have a sense as clearly as maybe some neutral systems, which is why sort of the layering of multiple systems to be able to sort of aggregate that becomes so compelling.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to go to the next question here, which is about flexibility, equity, and inclusion. So the question and prompt for the panelists is, how are you addressing accessibility, equity, and inclusion in your space or service design, and what does that look like in action?
Yeah, so when we started the design of the new headquarters, we had several meetings, and I talked about this in my roundtable, lots of programming, lots of planning with department heads, things like that. I found incredibly interesting was how each group had different needs regarding their space, layout, and technology. And then discovering the needs I knew that were critical to the success of the project.
Thank you.
So we wanted to build a strong sense of community and inclusivity. So we have quite the variety of workspaces to allow everyone to be able to bring their authentic self to work. And what that means is really both those physical and emotional attributes, kind of embedded in the workplace. We also included not only the interior spaces, but we did install the tread desks, the bicycle desks, and we also built a new outdoor space in each and every one of our locations. Our workforce is extremely distributed, so we didn't want to lose that local flair and community, but there's kind of that overarching standard. So each and every site that you walk into certainly looks and feels the same. However, when you're in Boston, when you're in Milwaukee or Hartford. And we want to make sure that a lot of those attributes, aren't always, they speak for themselves, so that you're not having to disclose kind of what you're seeking in those spaces. It's just the design intent is there, the education is there through the wayfinding, the signage. You're really able to come in and, be your best self, do your best work, and not have to only do certain things at home. So really kind of that hospitality, cross-pollination between work and home, again, creating that strong community.
I heard, because I'm going to piggyback off this, consistency. Mm-hmm. Consistency has been our big win. Standardizing on a specific type of room, which is the Teams room, so that even if it's a giant space with tons of microphones, bunch of cameras, 7 screens, or a little conference room, a little huddle space, that the same buttons do the same thing. That when you get to a desk, it's going to have a monitor, it's going to have a USB-C cable, you plug it in, it's going to work, even if you're sitting in different desks. Because that was a big thing. There's a lot of sharing going on, which is funny because COVID was like germs, use your own things, and now use a different desk with someone else's monitor every single day. But that can be scary for people. They're used to having their own desks. They're used to using the same rooms, and now they're all over the place. They're hoteling. They're not in every day. So consistency and knowing things are going to work and knowing that they're the same no matter where they go has been allowed people to predict and to be accessible in the same way everywhere. And also to build upon. So in our classrooms, we now have assistive listening devices in all of them. That's because they all sit on the same system. So we can buy in bulk these systems that work everywhere, and now all of our classrooms are accessible.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially interesting in your dynamic as well, because in the classroom settings, and is it 12 global locations?
14.
14, apologies. That to have that sort of consistent experience globally is an even more critical.
We'll get to that later. Don't steal that one.
So we're going to show some great shots and examples of this as well in just a second. So, little teaser. Okay, here's an interesting one. What's something that you used to believe about workplace experience that you've since changed your mind about?
So I don't want to age myself here, but I actually genuinely used to believe that the only way someone could truly be productive was when they were going into the office. So COVID really changed that mindset for both the workers at Tandem and leadership. So the flexibility that Tandem provides to its employees has been really crucial to our attrition rate. So, yeah, definitely.
So I once thought that the traditional office and cubicle would long be gone by now, but the truth is that people value that personalized work surface and dual screens and privacy. So we've transitioned to many different things that we love to brand. So Bright Work, Sun Life, you can see where this is headed. So now we're Future Work. And one of the most highly coveted spaces continues to be the phone rooms. It allows people to step away. We do not have assigned or dedicated space. We're activity-based working across all of our US sites. What that allows people to do is not only seek out where they work, but who they're working next to. And they continue to be able to come in and choose that space that meets the task they need to complete, really. If you think about, hierarchy, it really allows people to have access to closed-door spaces. And also, too, if you think about the different generations and, knowledge sharing that happens in the office, which we all want and, culturally need from an organizational standpoint, some people, if you think about their living conditions across multiple sites, they may not have access to technology or dual screens or height adjustable desk or just simple air conditioning when we hit a heat wave, right? Some of them are, going 5-6 people deep, maybe sharing apartments. So really, start to think about, we all love collaborative spaces. We don't have problems building beautiful environments, but there's some simple, fundamental things that are just not going to go away, and we cannot underestimate that they will probably be with us for a very long time.
You guys have a lot of great variety of spaces that help support all those functions as well.
I thought people knew what they wanted. Faculty at Northeastern are some of the smartest people in the world. The students are enterprising. They're the next generation of leaders, and they're very passionate when they tell you what they want, and sometimes you're forced to listen to what they want. And they explain these complex things. And then, as I said, we've done it before, and it's not what they want. It just doesn't work. Currently, maybe AI will fix it. And then when you show them, sometimes the simpler solution of, is this what you meant? And they go, yeah, that's exactly what I meant. It's nowhere near what they actually told you. I showed them, an HDMI cable hanging out of a TV that when you plug it in, it auto turns on. And they were like, that's perfect. It's amazing. When what they described was some crazy complex system with 3 Apple TVs and 4 Raspberry Pis. And so this becoming better translators in the whole space, because now facilities and IT are so close with, all of our lights have sensors and all this crazy stuff, and using that properly and making it just melt into the background has been a big lesson learned of mine in the past couple of years. And it has just been surprising to see these incredibly smart people be wrong.
I'm sure they'd love to be told that as well.
They don't tell them that.
No. We used to use the phrase a lot. It's important to have a voice, not a vote. But it sort of lends itself to that feeling of.
They won because they're happy with what they
Yeah.
have. They think they're right, but it was not.
That's right. That's perfect. But no, it goes back to that point of user feedback being sort of nuanced. So great that you're able to aggregate that for meaningful outcomes. Okay. What elements, design, amenities, and services have helped make your spaces not just functional but desirable? What creates a sense of belonging in sort of that magnetism way?
So, like Akash mentioned before, we have a cafe, and we really stuck to creating like the coffee shop vibe. Like you go in, and I personally spend my first hour of work when I go in at the cafe. I'm at Starbucks, like I'm not at work right now. The employees can come in and they can kind of disconnect when they need to, take a break, things like that. But I've seen some people like use the space also for meetings or maybe just some heads down time. So that's
Kind of like a third place at work.
Yeah. So it's been great.
So our magic, I'll have to give a plug to the Bevy folks, actually.
I use them too. They're great.
Yeah, I think that Bevy might be neck and neck with coffee and parking. Bevy, coffee, and parking are probably the three things that get the most airtime. But I mean, really, it's about the people. I mean, I'd like to sit here and say, space, work settings, but really it's about the people, that are really the drivers in getting other people to come in. I think there was a lot of conversation around having the leaders walk the walk, and that is the magic. People see everything. They're watching, and when people are coming in, it's just going to collect more and more people. One of the things that we heard for a while is, there's no one here. Why come in if half my team is not here? So we've implemented a lot of different processes. We happen to fall, and from an organizational structure, we happen to report into people and culture. And, we're not this separate work stream. We're very much an extension of that team, making sure that for all these programs that they're offering from a digital or hybrid virtual experience, we're matching that while we're in the office, making sure that we have the screens to support, whether it be yoga. We do have mother's rooms. We have, prayer rooms. We've got fitness facilities. I mentioned the tread desk, bicycle desk. We've got multi-purpose rooms in which if you just want to go in and just do some stretching because you've been out on the trails or gone for a run, we have the locker rooms and the shower facilities. So really, if you take a look at the total package, everything comes together. There's been also a lot of therapy conversation around this couch. And one of our leaders once said, I don't particularly like that couch over there, but if one person is able to come in and feel comfortable, it's worth it. So if you start to think about, each and every one of us and what we value and how we feel comfortable within the workplace, it's extremely important to have that variety.
Yeah, I love that.
Comfort's big. So Northeastern, we have 14 campuses, over 220 buildings, 200 acres of land, 9 million square feet. And some students, faculty, and staff experience almost all of that because they travel. Because the unique part about Northeastern is these campuses aren't necessarily specific to a program or a degree. Our students will spend a year, a semester in Oakland, and then a year in Boston, and then a year in London, and then go back to Oakland. And so knowing that things work the exact same way, quickly, everywhere, is very comforting, very important, and necessary to support long-term, that they can't be different, especially faculty, because they might teach in 7 buildings a day, different rooms, different spaces. And so keeping things consistent, knowing that I could print a document here, fly to California, and go grab it off the printer, because that's the same way I print everywhere, has been critical to keeping things inexpensive, because it's the same, and we can buy in bulk. and keeping people happy with, even if they're not exactly super happy with how functional something is, at least it works. It's broken in the same way everywhere, and they can find comfort in that.
Broken in the same way everywhere. I was going to say, for the stats you just shared, that is quite a variety of spaces, and a little impromptu, but combined with what you all just shared here too, I'd be curious how, the prompt was around sort of that sense of belonging, but which is really adjacent to culture, right? And this sentiment we hear, actually, I think Lauren said it earlier in a panel today around this idea that space shapes behavior, and behavior over time is your culture. I'd be curious, if any of you have a way in as it relates to some of that and how you've observed it in your own organizations.
So the board likes to call each campus kind of like a church, where it's unique in its own special way, but there are very obvious things that make it Northeastern-y. I like to think of it like McDonald's, because you get a Big Mac, and the Big Mac's the same everywhere, and it's delicious, and it's great, and it's a similar cost. That mixing, the culture of London, which is very different than Boston, which is very different than the West Coast. They think we're crazy for how we dress at work and how fast we walk. But maintaining the comfort and the feel that, you are at a Northeastern University campus has been mostly a facility space design thing. I mean, we just make sure that everything works, from a network perspective and AV, but facilities has managed to, throw in wall wraps and branding that makes it Northeastern-y. But our London campus is on the water, so they've added a lot of elements of ships and ropes and various, there's a picture of a classroom there, various things to make it uniquely London. But then when you look at the technology there, it's the same background across all of our spaces, which is a little boring, but very intentional, that this room will function the same as the one you're used to in Boston.
Mm-hmm. And I would essentially echo a lot of what you just said. The only, I would say, differentiator is that, we have many different lines of business. So in addition to wanting people to feel like they are, part of the organization, McDonald's, but also, are within a certain community, we take into consideration the employee when it comes to the brand, how they contribute to the overall success, right? How do you help them really be able to connect with our clients? Because at the end of the day, if they're not feeling that sense of community, sense of connection with the organization, and, kind of being able to enjoy those same benefits and amenities that we also offer, we got to walk the walk, right? So really making sure that they're part of the greater community, the organization, and also if you think about, people coming into the office, they want to connect with each other. They want to, know your kid's name. They want to be able to get to know people, and so they can trust them and really start to build and strengthen those relationships.
I mean, I think that we're already getting into some real-world examples, and that's kind of where we've been talking in the abstract until now. So this is a great segue into some real-world examples. So we're going to pull up some slides as well. But the next prompt is, can you share a recent project or initiative where people, technology, and place have come together in a meaningful way? And I think, Ryan, you're up first.
I'm first. There's going to be different pictures. So this is just some of our space. So this is a giant event space, but you'll notice that these two giant video walls, look at that background. This is our kind of placeholder image, this consistent theme. If you go to the next slide. Who's the remote? Does someone have the remote? Oh, okay. These are service hubs. It doesn't have the same. This is a classroom, but it's using Microsoft Teams room systems. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see people actually using the technology. These are not paid actors. They're paying us, actually. Using the technology, using these room systems in a very flexible environment. All of our classrooms are incredibly flexible, which is both for money saving, because now these can be flipped into anything we want. They're not static. But also for learning and using it for different reasons. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see a more traditional classroom in London, same background, same setup, same experience, thousands and thousands of miles away. And then the next slide. Okay, so this is what we're actually going to talk about here. People and technology coming together. So because all of our rooms are based on the same system, we are able to get data from all of them in the same exact way. And so we've built, one of the big things that faculty were very nervous about was, what does my room look like? What technology does it have in it? Does it work? What if it doesn't work? What do I do? And so we've built this classroom dashboard. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see what these, each room, and if you're assigned a classroom, you actually have it right at the top for my classrooms. Each room has a 360 photo, because some of the questions we get, like where are the outlets? Is the thermostat in the front of the room or the back of the room? Very strange questions. This 360 photo, with like a $200 camera, solved all those questions. They can look and zoom and do whatever they want. And not only that, it tells them, is the room working? We get real-time telemetry data on this room, and if it's broken, it notifies them, it gives them a workaround, it tells them exactly what they're getting into so that they can know what is happening. And then if you go one more slide, they can even learn about how to use the things in it instead of calling us to push a button. All of this has attributed to that 66% drop in classroom calls. And it wasn't that hard. Taking the pictures took a really long time with this many rooms, but we had some student employees who were very enterprising, do all that for us. And it came together in this wonderful, fairly simple website that is static other than the dynamic telemetry data that has solved so many problems. Unfortunately, they don't notice when things work, they only notice when they don't work, but leadership has noticed that this worked and that people are happy and they're not getting complaints about technology or facilities in the classroom.
Yeah, I love that, and a great way to set pre-expectations for everyone in those spaces as well.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. I think Nicole's content is next. Can we do the next slide?
Yeah. So we have 5 words that we live by. So we have people first, innovate every day, no shortcuts, team up, stay awesome. So I incorporated those into the design of this space by having a local muralist come in, and you guys will probably see the slides in a minute. I'm just gonna.
Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, there we go.
There you go. We had local muralists come in to add it along the walls. I think there might be one more slide
Yeah,
that
next
has.
slide, please.
That is actually our Lego wall. So our R&D team, they're a little bit more on the younger side. Ryan, you understand me. So, an idea that we had that's worked out really well, and it's again like, people want to take a break, get away. So we incorporated this in the design as well as the video game wall you guys saw on the first slide. I won't make you go back; it's fine. So it's given them something to go to decompress, and then this is actually kind of an old picture when we first opened up the space. If you saw it now, there's tons of stuff. I give tours to kids that come on site, kids that want to work in engineering and things like that, and we tell everyone that comes in to put something on the wall. So
Very neat.
yeah, it's been really great. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's the innovate every day. Again, not paid actors. Those are people, real people. Yeah.
Real employees, love it. Awesome. We'll go to the next slide.
That's still
Stay off.
Sorry, stay awesome. Yeah.
I love this. So energizing.
Yep, and now we have a couple of pics of the Sun Life space. So as you can see here, we've really activated our corridors. So we have the digital signage where we can push content. We've got that collaborative space. It also serves as an overflow. So on some of our power days in which we do have events, it does allow some of that ability to just kind of drop your bag and maybe connect up with colleagues before you're running to a meeting. And then you see some of our branding, some of our taglines.
Good debrief section too.
Next slide. Yep. These are not paid actors. So this is in our village area. So village area is our zone in which we socialize. So we actually started out, this zone was not bookable, and we've since made it bookable because we've had such a demand for a large gathering space that incorporates food as well as the ability to show content, watch sports games. We've got Red Sox Day where we, roll out the peanuts and the hot dogs. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's contagious. When you see people coming together, they're like, oh, we want to do that. So what we found is it's just propelling, every day that goes by, more and more people see what's happening. And it's just, we're building momentum for that in-office presence allowing people to connect. And here's an example of one of our team's rooms. This was built to really be, equitable, right? So you've got your virtual employees or people at other sites being able to connect up and all kind of face that same direction. You see the countertops for the food, the recycling. It is on the window. Even though we do have right to light and a lot of open spaces, for the amount of time you're in some of these conference rooms, it's really important to feel you're not in a cave. And then these booths are actually quite popular. Some of the days that we have events going on, again, a lot of our phone rooms, traditional spaces, they're all filled. So people just need a space to really land their bag, maybe catch up on some emails. And the other thing too is it's spontaneous interactions. A lot of people are right in the corridors. We've activated them. People walk in, they're seeing faces maybe they've seen for the first time or not in a long time. So it's really a great way to really, build that in-office excitement. Yep, and this is our tagline.
You guys have done a great job activating those corridors. It's like this meeting could have been a hallway meetup. It's like the new phrase there. Awesome. Okay, we're going to do a quick lightning round. We'll just do quick bites here. What's one action or mindset shift that you think every organization should consider to improve experience? Like takeaway for today, what's one thing you'd recommend?
So mine is accommodation of continual growth and change of the workplace environment is foundational to good employee retention and recruiting.
And mine is don't stand still. Keep moving forward.
So mine is use your data, but someone said something in the earlier panel that I need to call out. They said that facilities switched to an IT-style ticket managing system for better or worse. It's for better. We just did the similar thing, and IT incident management and facilities incident management are so similar. And to end users, they almost see it as the same. A light switch is technology. Anything with a screen is technology. A whiteboard is technology. You'd be surprised how many calls we or facilities get because there's not a marker in the room. So having that data in one place to be able to report on what are we getting the most calls on. There's no markers in the room. Well, that's an easy fix. Marker vending machines. That's what we did. There's vending machines with markers. You tap your Husky card and you get a marker. Temperature control, these things that you won't notice as the problems trickle in, but when you have that data in one place that's easily reportable, or space usage data, sensor data, where people are sitting and why, you can make such informed decisions that seem like you're a mind reader, because you kind of are.
Well, you got all the data and all the tools to do it.
To read their minds.
Love it. I'll just do a quick takeaway from everything I've heard here is that, it seems as though experience is really doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen by chance. It's really the result of really thoughtful design and integration of all these components together. One missing and it won't be as successful. Akash?
I mean, for me, it was really, I think Ryan put it very succinctly when he said, people just don't know what they want. And so that's the real importance of measurement of your people in terms of understanding, reading their minds effectively, be that with sensor data or surveys like Rebecca's doing, and combining all that together with the power of AI and using that to really influence what you want to do with your space going forward.
Awesome. We might have time for one or two questions.
Thank you all for staying. I know we're keeping you from dinner and drinks.
Everyone wants to run out to the drinks right now, yeah.
But now you can all add mind reader to your profiles.
That's right. Well, if there are no questions, we won't keep you from your cocktail hour. Thanks for hanging in here with us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.